Welcome to Welcome to Caribbean Thought. Um, um, and today is class 4 in Caribbean Thought. I was making the point that next week, what we will do is we will jump um, into the film Life and Death. The students will get a chance to see Life and Death. When you see Life and Death, it's gonna expose you to a lot of things. Now, the film Life and Death is a book that was re- that was um, that was released in 2001 by Stephanie and directed and published by Stephanie Black, produced by Stephanie Black. Um, and then it's a film that was based on a book called A Small Place, written by Jamaica Kincaid. That was written in about Antigua. It was written about Antigua. Um, One of the things that's quite interesting is that you may ask is how is it how is it that there is a film about Jamaica called Life and Death that is based on a book written about Antigua? That's quite interesting or maybe novel. How are you able to do that? It goes to show how similar the Caribbean experiences, the Caribbean experiences. Again, how are you able to have a film to direct a film and to publish a film, have it and produce a film for the big screen, and it's a docu-film about Jamaica. Yet this film is based on a book, and of course the film is again written by, published by, but edited and published, produced by what's her name again, Stephanie Black, about Jamaica, and then it's based on a book called A Small Place, written about Antigua by Jamaica Kincaid. How is that possible? And I'm saying to you, it shows the connection between places, between places in the Caribbean, and that's quite powerful, and that's quite interesting, and that is why we can have a course like this, Caribbean Thought. So you get a chance to watch that, and we'll begin to talk about um, the facade of independence, because I the I we will dub next week lecture the facade of independence. I don't think we're going to get a chance to talk about it today because we by the time the syllabus is lengthy. I prepare a very lengthy syllabus. It's almost a booklet, and we will get about it, and we will delve into it today. And you will also learn quite a few things when we start to explore the syllabus about the course. What are the outcomes? What are the expectations? And so, what are the responsibilities? What are your rights? So on and so forth. So we get a chance to do that today, and we'll get to know you more as well. But now, in getting to know you, I want to learn about you. In getting to know you, it provides an opportunity to share your responses to the assignment. The assignment, of course, was for you to one, talk about your initial reflection.
Sir, is there
Yeah.
any way you can turn up? You're very low.
Very, very
Share your initial reflection. How is it now? Ah,
little bit.
Better.
sorry. I was low. Volume was at 10%. You get a chance to share your initial reflection about the Afrocentric paradigm, and then of course you will then, and some of you will also just talk about what you glean from neoliberalism. Please make it very short because I want to finish the syllabus today and assign and get you guys in groups, because week 12 and 13, or week 11 and 12, you will present in your groups on the islands. You guys will do a presentation on Caribbean islands. um but we will put you in your groups this week. Some of you who missed weeks 1 and weeks 2, the classes are recorded. If you go to JTS online, you'll see the recordings are there. you can click on the recordings, and the recordings, all the classes will be recorded and will be available to you. You can watch them. I believe those two classes were quite powerful. I think you should watch them. That's about it for that. We have 29 students in the class, so I think we can begin officially. Now, so welcome to the class. Today, I want to ask you guys to begin to. We won't. I don't think I want to share the. I don't want to go to. I don't want to do the syllabus as yet. I'm going to give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves. And who wants to go first? It's now 7:30. I the, it's now 6:30. It's 6:30 in Jamaica. The class is supposed to end at 9. So we have about home 6:30, about 2.5 hours. So I think we'll take about 45 minutes to complete this exercise, and then the last hour and a half to finish the hour and a half. About hour and a half to go over the syllabus, and then or hour to go over the syllabus, 30 minutes to put you in groups, and then 30 minutes for you guys to share. So each of you have about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so make it sharp, make it sweet.
Sorry, you're talking about those persons who have never introduced themselves already? Because we did this already.
If you how many of you introduced yourselves? About 3 or 4, right?
No, sir. It was 2 weeks out of introduction.
Yeah.
Almost all of us introduced.
How many
Yes,
of,
sir.
And we already know each other.
how many of you have introduced yourselves?
I did.
I did.
Really?
I
Philip?
did too, sir.
Okay, but I don't think interesting. Not many people. I don't think many people introduce themselves to the class. Did you talk about what program you're doing, what you hope to get out of the class?
Yes, sir, we did. Yes,
All
sir, we did.
all right. That was when we had about 17 people in the class. Now we have about 30. About 30. So at least 10 or 12 of you didn't introduce yourselves. But you know what? We're gonna have all of you introduce yourselves again. All right. We're gonna have you guys all do it all over. Introduce yourselves and tell us about and touch on the topic, because remember you didn't get a chance to reflect on the assignment, right? When you introduce yourselves. So let's do that this week. So we will be. Who wants to go first?
Sir,
Who
I'll
wants to
go
go first?
first because I'm not feeling so good.
Why are you not feeling good?
I don't know. I guess I'm catching a flu.
Oh wow, wow, wow. Okay, go ahead.
So you want my name? What else?
Your name. What program are you doing here at JTS? Are you a first, second, or third year student? What you hope to get out of your studies here at JTS, and then you can and out of the course, and then you get take a crack at the question. Um, what are your initial reflection on reading Amazama's Afrocentric Paradigm and the preface of Neoliberalism?
All right. So again, good evening. My name is Annalisa Wright. My area of study is social work, and I'm a second year student going into third year. What I hope to get out of school. Um, I'm hoping that this is going to be a space of growth, not only intellectually, but also personally and socially. And academically, I aim to develop critical thinking skills that deepen my understanding in my chosen field. My reflection. I think that after reading the preface of your book, it critiques how global inequalities actually challenges the Caribbean, particularly Jamaica, and how it is romanticized by the world while the real struggles are being ignored. And I believe that you confront the myth of the Caribbean as a paradise, exposing it as as a harmful stereotype that increases colonial legacies and also current hardships such as poverty and so forth. That's it.
Wow. What? Wait. Is there anything in that? What? Anything that you want to, in particular, you want to point to? That's striking that you read. Anything that's striking that striked you that you want to publish? Because you said you made a very important point. You said that I I talk about the deep realities of Jamaica, the Caribbean, and the global South post
Uh-huh.
post independent nations. Um, Yet they are largely, or the area is largely romanticized by people abroad. I mean, and that could be true. I mean, it's not be true, but it seems to be there is a conflict here in the sense that it is an island paradise, yet the reality that reality is not necessarily the experience of everyone. And what is
Mm-hmm.
ironic, that reality is not the experience of many people who live on the island paradise.
Mm-hmm.
While at the same time, we're talking about the book that I wrote, Neoliberalism, while at the same time, there are people outside of the Caribbean that would see it as an island paradise. Why is that so? Why is it that the, that many people in the Caribbean may not or people would may not would have that would not have that experience of seeing the Caribbean as an island paradise as against those outside of it. But anyways, and the film Life and Death is going to talk about that, of course. A very powerful film. It's going to it's going to show that in a very vivid way. My book, in a sense, allows you to visualize that for yourselves and to come to terms with it for yourselves. Of course, the Jamaican Prime Minister recently talked about this issue of poverty being down from 16.2% to 8.2%, which is quite remarkable. It's quite remarkable because it was just in 2021-22, poverty was at 16%. And in about just a year and a half or two, poverty went down to 8.2%. Of course, I'm going to talk, and hopefully I get to talk about that later on, or probably in the next class. Because if you guys read the Jamaica Gleaner, you will see my latest article in the Jamaica Gleaner, entitled, my latest article in the Jamaica Gleaner is entitled, if I can find it, it's entitled Poverty Statistics, Counting Eggs Before They Are Laid, published May 23rd, 2025. Poverty Statistics, Counting Eggs Before They Are Laid. But the Jamaican government talk about, of course, the textbook talks about poverty. Poverty as a reality in the Caribbean. And of course, I said to you, you talk about the fact that the preface of neoliberalism talk about the romanticization of the Caribbean, but yet there are deep realities that one cannot escape because the Caribbean deals with brain drain and the issue of immigration. And the way in which the Caribbean see and practice immigration is different from how immigration is practiced in the global South, the global North. The way in which people travel from global North to the global South is different in terms of how they travel from the global South to the global North. In fact, the ease of travel is one of the things you notice. The ease of travel, the travel that takes place from the global South to the global North, it's marked with a lot of draconian policy and suspicion. I talk about that in the book when I talk about the alien or the immigrant is usually portrayed as an alien with 3 heads and big sharp teeth, seeking to steal and destroy the profit and disrupt society. But anyways, I don't want to get into that too much right now. But you know, one of the things that I would talk about is my experience here coming to the US. Some of my friends would ask, "Why are you here? Why are you in the US? Oh my God, Jamaica is so beautiful. Barbados, Cayman Islands, all these islands, they're amazing. Why? I would give up anything to be there." That's quite interesting, is it not? Is it not? It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting because then you find that the reality of opportunity comes to bear, and we'll talk about that some more. But anyways, thank you so much for the reflection. What about the Afrocentric paradigm? Anything about the Afrocentric paradigm that you want to reflect on? Annalisa? All right, that's fine. Who wants to go next?
All right, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Davina Barrett. I'm a second year student going into third year, and my area of study is guidance and counseling.
Okay.
All right, sir. So a lot of things was said in the preface, but one of the things that really jumped out for me, and I did argued about it in the reflection, was the Washington consensus. I don't know if that's the term that was used.
Yeah, I did. Yes, the Washington Consensus.
Right, and when I looked it up, it's a monetary thing that monetary policy. And speaking of like the IMF, and I was really just questioning it, because in the preface you mentioned about this thing, the Washington consensus, they were used to build up healthcare and to support education and a whole lot of stuff concerning society. And I was looking at it concerning Jamaica. Like I said, a lot of arguments started in my mind that we know that the government would have gotten these monetary supports, and I was looking at the fact that the society or the nation itself, it seems as if we are still under bondage or we are still suffering because some of these monies are not being used to facilitate or to help anything concerning education, health care, community care, social care, whatever it may be. So I was really arguing the fact that these stuffs are issued to the government, yet the nation's people are not benefiting from it. So that was really one thing that stood out for me concerning the preface. Yeah.
Good. The idea of Washington, but you understood the concept of Washington Consensus, as I put it in the book.
Sorry, you're so low. I don't know if it's me alone.
You understand the concept of Washington Consensus, yes, as described in the book. Hello?
So you're talking?
Yeah. I said yes. What do you understand by the term Washington Consensus?
Like I said, sir, when I looked it up, because it was the first I'm hearing about the term, but I get to understand that it concerns monetary policies.
Okay.
And one of those examples are like the IMF.
Yeah, that is true. It does involve the monetary policy. The IMF played a very significant role in the economic fortunes and the position of the Caribbean nations after their independence, especially after the 1970s, and more so the late 1970s and especially in the 1980s, and it continued in the 1990s and 2000s, and now it's now in the 2000s, and now they have adjusted, and of course now the government, now they are now turning their sights to China. They're doing now. They want now. China is heavily invested in Jamaica, and of course, recently we heard that the U.S. government and the Trump administration is against China's investment in Jamaica, the Caribbean, and Panama. In fact, they have stationed more troops there. I have talked about what does that mean for the Caribbean nations, for Jamaica. Um, we have largely enjoyed a calm we geopolitical region. The geopolitical region that we're in has been largely calm. The U.S. has provided. Is of course the U.S. is right there as a superpower, provides security and so on, and the U.S. is still heavily invested in Jamaica, and one of the questions that even you may have to contend with in this class is what does that mean for Jamaica and for Caribbean, not just Jamaica, but Barbados and many other Caribbean countries are have received investment from China to the tune of billions of dollars, and we don't know what the deal involves. And I think that was part of the problem with Caribbean countries, is that they made deals in the 1980s, the 1970s, 80s, 90s that that has helped to disadvantage the Caribbean, that has helped to create the economic plight, so the economic position of the Caribbean. But now we're hearing that the Caribbean, but of course, some of it stems from corruption and mismanagement and so on and so forth over the years, which probably we'll maybe get a chance to get into that. But when we talk about the Washington Consensus, of course, we're talking about a particular concept that involves.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir,
You
go
you
get
you
Michael.
you kind of in and out, low, high. I don't know if it's
Yes, sir.
my
I'm not
device.
hearing.
I'm not. Yeah, I sometimes my computer does that. Let me see if I need to close some of my windows. Probably I need to close some stuff. Hold on. Close some of these windows. Maybe they are interfering. Close this one. Cancel. All right, how do I sound?
Way better, sir. Way better.
Better, sir.
I have a million things open on my system. I think that's what's creating the problem. All right. But when we talk about well, this is not the class to talk about Washington Consensus, but I just wanted to know what you thought about. But when I talk about Washington Consensus, it comes from the idea of this bureaucratic phenomenon. It comes from the idea of an understanding, a philosophical understanding of economics, of how to do economics, of how. And earlier I was asking somebody, what is economics? Economics is the science that looks at how goods and services, so how resources are distributed within societies amongst unlimited wants, amongst unlimited needs. Okay. So what is the distributive formula? And so the idea is that economics is the science that is supposed to help to adjudicate, or supposed to help to give us the idea as to how to distribute amongst unlimited wants and desires. I said to somebody earlier, you cannot live beyond your means. You have no matter how much you have, you always have unlimited wants and desires, and their needs. So your resources, and we have limited resources. So we have, and we talk about who controls the factors of production within a mixed economy, who controls the factors of production within a state-run economy. Those are some information that you should already know, you should already have. Okay, but when we talk about this Washington Consensus and what it means, is that we're talking about a Jamaican society, a Caribbean society within history that has advocated or that has been impacted by an economic philosophy that has helped to hold Jamaica and the Caribbean countries back. A philosophy that involves a power dynamic, and I talk about this power dynamic, that stems from a capitalist regime from the global north, from a post-industrial complex that says that we are to practice a kind of economics that involves opening up our economic systems, deregulating, discontinuing infrastructural spending, to revalue one's currency, so on and so forth. Those are some of the things that happened in the 1970s and 80s and 90s over the period where Jamaica followed a kind of philosophy, a globalist philosophy. This philosophy of globalization that says once the Caribbean countries, once newly independent countries were to plug themselves into a kind of capitalist regime, an international regime, a system that involves opening up their economy to allow for globalization to take place, to allow for and globalization is really the crossing of borders. Globalization is where goods and services cross borders. Globalization is where goods and services cross borders. And when Caribbean countries got independent in the 1960s, the 1970s, okay, the plan for their independence was for them to be sovereign and for them to develop a kind of prosperity. But this prosperity was cut short by when they decided to plug themselves into this new globalist regime. The globalization was taking place in the 1970s and 80s. And so they signed themselves into deals that involves opening up their economies. But this opening up of their economies led to a penetration that has ultimately helped to kill these local markets and created things like brain drain and has created more dependency. And the IMF and the IMD and the Inter-American Development Bank and so on. So when we talk about the Washington Consensus, we're talking about a bureaucratic phenomenon that involves a pharisaical system, a hypocritical system, a pharisaical system and a hypocritical system that allows the Caribbean countries like Jamaica to lock themselves into economic agreements that says, one, the Caribbean countries were not supposed to invest in their local manufacturers because that would be that's unfair competition, because we are involved in a global competitive market. And if Caribbean countries borrow money from the IMF, borrow money from the World Bank, borrow money from the IMDB, and so on, and use that money to invest in their manufacturers, in their farmers, in their industries, it means then that it would put Caribbean markets at an advantage over the post-industrial, over the people who is lending us the money.
Well, sir.
So the Washington Consensus was a created philosophy that has helped to trick Caribbean people in the sense that, fine, the Caribbean decided to deregulate their economies. The Caribbean decided not to invest in their local manufacturers. We'll see that next week. But however, while the Caribbean was doing it, you know who was not doing what they had asked the Caribbean to do? The post-industrial countries. They were investing in their local manufacturers. Yes, they were investing in education and providing benefits that they were expecting the Caribbean countries not to do. That has also helped to create this unfair competition. Go ahead, Howard.
Good night again, sir. I hear the point, valid point, but I have a question, sir.
Yeah.
If and I'm looking at it from a perspective of being a business person, right? If you're going to borrow from me to invest in a particular thing, it must mean that whatever you're going to invest your money in is guarantee my return, right? That you will not come back to me and borrow. So in the case of the Jamaica or the Caribbean borrowing from these loan entities to finance their or to invest in the local market in the farmers and so forth, they would have to look out for themselves as well. So I can't fault them in that way, sir, because again they would have to look out for themselves, look out for their interests. And I think that's where the problem is. I think Jamaica and the Caribbean for far too long has been looking out for other people's interests except our own. And rather than building capacity with your own people, you tend to be looking outside of, we tend to look outside of ourselves for solution.
And I agree with that point. I agree with the point that in terms of developing capacity, that has been part of the Caribbean problem, capacity, and developing our capital-intensive capabilities. That has been part of the problem. That's what if Jamaica get money or investments, they should look to invest the funds that way. But outside of that, what I'm saying is that as it relates to the Washington Consensus was, and that's the point I've often made, Howard, and the film Life and Death is going to talk about the fact that the Jamaican government and Caribbean government were weak, need, and lack vision because they locked themselves in agreements that ultimately meant them transferring power from their hands to international hands. The book that we're going to talk about, Ramesh F. Ramsawan, talks about that in the challenge of structural adjustment in the Commonwealth Caribbean. And of course, Michael Manley alluded to that when he talked about that in the 1970s in an interview, when he says that when he sat down with the IMF and with the international lenders, according what they had said to him, it is not my problem, it is your problem, because they were lending money to Caribbean government and people at high interest rates, very high interest rates. And not only that, there were time conditionalities that involves things such as you cannot invest in certain industries, you cannot invest in you can't subsidize your farmers, you can't subsidize your manufacturers, and so on and so forth. And say for example, Jamaica wanted to use the money for the capital intensive capability for economic development, because economic development facilitates economic growth. You cannot have economic growth without economic development, and economic development requires a kind of capital intensive investment that Jamaicans and Caribbean countries lack, and they lack that. All they got for investments, the conditionalities placed on the loans and the interest rates placed on the loans prevented them from doing so. Of course, I talk about that in Neoliberalism, but we'll talk about that some more later on in the class. But who else is next? Let's move on. Howard, Howard Bowley, go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Welcome to the class. Tell me about you.
No, I already made my point, sir. It was I who spoke. I agree with you.
No, but tell me about introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. This is my first class, sir. I've been trying to log on for the longest while, but I thank God I made it. It's very interesting. I am a final year student. My major is theology. Married, have 2 kids, and I'm a lover of God. Yeah, and I'm looking forward. I love what I'm hearing so far in the class, and I'm looking
Great.
forward for more interaction and discussion.
Great.
And sir, regarding you made mention of a book that's on the syllabus.
Neoliberalism. You'll hear about. We talk about that today. Hope we're gonna wrap up the introductions in about 15 minutes, or
Okay.
and then 15 to, if we can. I'm a talker, but if I have time, hopefully we can wrap up the introductions, and then we go straight. We take a quick 2 minutes break, and then we go straight into the syllabus. The syllabus is gonna take up the entire class. As I said to you, my syllabus is intense, and it's like it's a booklet. So once you go through the syllabus, you get a general idea of the class. If you guys are joining this class for the first time, you would have already missed 3 weeks of classes. We've already dealt with a lot. When I go over the syllabus, you'll hear me talk about that. Now, the class is available on the Zoom, the recordings. I record all the classes now, and I have been teaching this course since 2020. So, and we have, and the classes is available on my YouTube channel. If you go to Caribbean Thought, and there's Caribbean Thought 2023, Caribbean Thought 2024, some one and summer semester, because it's usually, this course is offered twice per year, January to May, and then the summer. So of course I did teach this class earlier, and then I'm teaching it again this summer. So but all those, and so the classes are split up in summers, in categories, or in playlists, in terms of when the courses are offered and taught. So this particular semester, summer semester, Caribbean Thoughts, summer 2025, will be available on the YouTube channel as well. It also will be available on JTS Online, the recording. So you can click on that, it takes you straight to the recording. So if you missed the first 2 classes, they are available. Watch them. They are some of the, if I do ask you to, when I write my exam, I look at all the recordings and I pull questions from the recording. So I encourage you to watch all the recordings in class to refresh your memory. And I think the recordings are deep. I rewatched them and they're really deep. So if this is your first time, go back, watch the recordings. It will give you a sense of the class and some of the heavy subjects. Some of the things we're going to be looking at, we already start talking about the Afrocentric paradigm. We've already talked about history from below. We already started talking about that, and the approach to Caribbean thought. Caribbean thought is not Caribbean philosophy. It's not Caribbean history. It's not Caribbean theology. But of course we will talk about those. But what are our approaches to Caribbean philosophy? What is our approach to Caribbean theology? What is our approach to Caribbean history? Where and Caribbean epistemology, and epistemology has to do with truth. Now, how do you know what you know? Where does it come from? Does it come from a history that is stolen and bastardized that you now still revel in? Or do you embrace a history that says Obeah is evil? A history and an idea and a concept that has been given to us by the very same people that had colonized us. Yes. So we will talk about, I mean, did Christopher Columbus discover the Caribbean? We talk about Caribbean history. Or did African sailors come to the Caribbean before Columbus? Yes. We have documentary evidence, and we have a book that we will delve into, like the book called They Came Before Us. Sorry, They Came Before Columbus, The African Presence in Ancient America by Ivan Van Sertima. So that's where our Caribbean history is. We're not going to look, it's not primary and it's not pleasantries. It's deep academic rigor. It's critical thinking at work. Collegiate work at work. We're academics and we're scholars. And that's part of what we will do in this class. Who is next? Is that everybody? Kadia, you went already? Carlene, you went already? Diana Campbell, you went already? Have I met
Sir,
everyone?
can I go?
Who that? Who that?
Constance.
Go ahead, Constant. Welcome to the class. It's a pleasure.
Okay, thank you. All right. My name is Constance Ferguson Booth, and I'm a second-year student. I'm going into third year of social work, and my reflection on what I've read in the neoliberalism book is that Jamaica's identity is deeply rooted in the African heritage. We know that now. But as Jamaicans, we need to celebrate the heritage. But the legacy has been marginalized and all throughout history. Also, Eurocentric narrative dictators, that is, have historical devalued African contribution to global civilization. What we as Jamaicans need to do is to reevaluate the cultural practices and beliefs that have been
Constance, are you there?
You're
Constance,
muted.
Oh, sir, I didn't realize that the mic was muted.
okay.
Okay. All right. So my name is Constance Ferguson Wood, and I am I'm in second year going into third year. I'm doing social work. I'm going to jump ahead a bit and just talk about the reflection that I've read, right?
No, we heard the first 2 minutes, but
Okay.
after a while we didn't hear you. But
Okay. All right. So
hold on. Are you talking about? What are you reflecting on?
the Afrocentric paradigm.
But you said something about neoliberalism, did you?
About what?
Did you say something about neoliberalism?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Okay. So so you're reflecting on both.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So I was saying, as it relates to the historical marginalization of African traditions in Jamaica, I now know that Obia and revivalism have been marginalized and labeled as fringe or demonic, while Christianity has been upheld as ideal. But in my reflection, I still view Obia and revivalism as being negative and demonic.
Stop. Constance. Go back 2 sentences and read that again. And go back to what?
Okay.
And then go back to your class. You are making a logical, you're making an argument, and probably maybe it's from a deductive one, or probably it sounds more inductive. But go back 2 sentences and let me hear what you are saying.
Okay, I said as it relates to historical marginalization of African traditions in Jamaica, I know that Obia and revivalism have been marginalized and labeled as fringe and demonic, while Christianity has been upheld as ideal, right? But I go back and I say, yes, based upon what I've learned, I'm just unlearning and relearning that, but in my opinion, reflection, I still view Obia and revivalism as being negative and demonic based upon the fact that what our foreparents did with it. They didn't do anything positive with Obia. They did pure negative things. Kill off people, set up upon people, all of those things. Those are the things that I know about Obia and revivalism. So this that I'm learning now, I'm just trying to accept, but it's gonna be hard.
So okay, and that's fair enough. I like how you beautiful, well done, well said. I like your position. But you said that you know that revivalism, or let's put it another way, more generally put, you know that
Yeah.
African spirituality, yes, or African traditions have been marginalized, historically. That marginalization, that marginalization, how does it come about? Through miseducation, yes, yeah, right? Through interference, yeah, through manipulation, yes, through colonization, yes. And then you say, and Christianity has been upheld by what? Through education, yes, through cultural impositions, yes, through what Michel Foucault, who the postmodernist, Michel Foucault, we'll talk about him later on. Michel Foucault, who talks about institutions. He says that there's a relationship between knowledge and institutions. Knowledge, institutions exist to 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 maintain the status quo and a particular kind of knowledge. Um, I talk about the fact that earlier, you of course. So here it is that you agree that African traditions and spirituality have been manipulated. I mean, they're marginalized, whether through manipulation, colonization, and so on and so forth. And it has even been made illegal by our colonizers, our slave masters, who are no longer our slave masters in one sense, but in another sense, you could say they are still are, whether indirectly through brainwashing that exists in institutions today. That might be bluntly or harshly put. But we're going to talk about Afrocentricity and Eurocentricity as well. But here it is that you have come to terms with that, Claudine. You agree that African traditions have been marginalized, and through colonization, Christianity have been upheld and made to look beautiful over anything African, because nothing black no good, because that's how we were taught. Yes. Um, and even to the point where the African look within himself with disdain. Nothing, even within the brainwashing is so great that even within the African himself, the European, our masters can still leave and they can still continue to control us, because now the African look within himself and knows and look with disdain and say, any that what he has is not good, even though he knows he's been marginalized. He know that I don't know. That's a philosophical response, rebuttal to what you have said. But that's the point I wanted to make, Claudine. How is it that you are able to say that in one breath? Obia has been African traditions are marginalized, and European traditions have been made to look beautiful and romanticized, according to Anna. But at the same time, you still accept the fact that you're still gonna, you're still not going, you're still gonna think that you're still not gonna embrace it as being anything positive, but it's negative because because of your experience, you say, because of what your parents say. But your parents our parents were colonized too. Yes, I mean, I always thought that after when I used to go to Brighton, go look for my friend Michael, and we we see there's one lady that used to have her curtain with her little panel thing at the front. We would walk on the next side. We were so afraid, and just so you know, just a year or two ago that I've just started to explore some of these. By the way, so it's fine. But the point I'm trying to make is that here it is. By the way, Nanny of the Maroons, do you know she was an Obia woman? You know that? Yes? Claudine?
Yes, sir, I know that, but Claudine wasn't the one that was making the point, sir. It was
Oh,
someone else.
Constant, sorry. And Constant, sorry. Constant.
That's okay.
Constant, do you
Yes,
see
sir.
in the last class, in the last two classes, many of you were praising and glorifying Traore, right? Yes?
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
guys
sir.
were talking about Traore. And Traore wrote a very harsh letter to the Pope, the new Pope. Yes? Talking about what they have done to his people, not just Sierra Leone or wherever he's from, but from all over Africa. Kill their traditions and their people and their institutions, and even when they brought them here and gave them independence and everything, they're still trying to kill them. Anyways, but Traore talks about the fact that the church has committed heinous crimes against people. Yes? And used the Bible to even to justify slave inappropriately. So the points I'm making is, how can you now still arrive at that position if
But
you
sir,
have not been? Yeah.
I'm basically telling you from what I've learned over the years, not just from my parents.
Yeah.
What we black people use Obia to do. Them use it for take away people, man, and do all sort of evil thing over people because them get a position in the workplace and all of those things, them kill people. Those are the things I'm talking about that they do with
But
Obia.
Obia
So
has also,
it
but
does not have a positive light.
Constance, but Obia, Nanny of the Maroons, also used Obia to secure Jamaica's freedom. And
So
she's
I thought
hated.
that was
Sir,
80.
but we,
No,
sir, but we don't use it for that purpose anymore.
no. Who said that? No. What I'm saying to you is no. It is. Yeah, say for example, capitalism and Marxism. In the U.S., people
Okay.
say that capitalism is good, Marxism is bad, and the argument about Marxism being bad is that it is bad because look at Cuba, look at China. People, you don't have a right to choose. They force you. But that's no. They are using a negative understanding. What they have done is that they have redefined the thing, or they are highlighting the negative aspects of what they know. And even though even though they are positive, they don't want to hear anything about it. They still say that capitalism is good, Marxism is bad. Marxism represents China, capitalism represents the US, blah 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 blah, so on and so forth. The same thing to go with slavery. In order to justify the enslavement of a whole people from Africa, okay, they created the idea of race in the 1500s, in the late 15 to the 1600s, just as they were about to do that. Okay, race was a theory before, but it was on the back shelves of academia. But when the merchants and the nobles and wanted to justify slavery to their good consciences, they used the idea of race. They pulled the idea of race that was on the back shelf, that was a theory. All of a sudden, it's no longer a theory. They brought it to the front of academia because it became useful. It became a pragmatic truth. There is pragmatic truth, there's coherent theory of truth, and there is a correspondent theory of truth. Pragmatic truth is truth that serves the interests of the status quo, or those who have the power for that truth or idea to allow it to serve. Now, let's continue with the point. So, all of a sudden, race becomes a reality and race exists when it was never existed. So, race exists. The idea of race was now used to justify to say, well, the Bible talks about the idea of slaves or and so on. And black people from Africa, or the people from Africa, they are the lowest race. And so therefore it is okay. We can they're not real people, they're not human beings. Utilizing the Bible and utilizing Christianity and being blessed by Christianity and the idea of race. But we still, and these very same people who promoted Christianity, who came to capture this world and tried to commit genocide of a people under the name of Christianity, and did the crusades in the name of Christianity. I said to people, when certain people fight for freedom, they're called terrorists. When black people fight for their freedoms, they're called terrorists. But if white people do so, it's a revolution. When black people, if African people create their own religions and traditions, and people corrupt it, it is all evil, always evil. But when the Europeans have their religions and use it to do evil, it is still pure. What does that say about our identity and ourselves as a people? But anyway, that's not for this class. Those are some of the things we will contend with in this class. Who is next? But thank you, Constance. You gave me some great food for thought, and we are going to delve some more into this. So this is not, you'll learn some more about what Obia is used for. We're going to talk about, because we talk about what is it to abuse something? To abuse something is to use something for what it is not intended for. A knife is good. A knife is useful and effective until someone abuses its intended purpose to cut somebody, but it is still good. It is what's bad. It is the human being that use it to do bad. But it is good. Yes? But it is the human being. Obia, it is the same thing. People are using Obia, and not only that, people are corrupting Obia as they corrupt Africa, as they corrupt Nelson Mandela. Yes, because he was thrown in jail. Yes, he was thrown in jail for being a terrorist too, And we talk about the bastardization of Africa, of African culture within Western civilization. We'll talk about that when we start later on in the class. Natasha Spence, go ahead.
Sorry not to cut you. I'm apologizing for Carleen. She was kicked off. She's facing some technical difficulties with her laptop.
All right, thank you. Hopefully she can come back on. Okay.
Sir, Diana Campbell said to tell you that she's bumped off also. She's having some rain in her area.
Is it raining in Jamaica?
Not where I'm at presently, but maybe in other places.
Thank you for letting me know that. Chantel, can you can note that, probably reach out to them. Maybe hopefully they're able to come back to the class.
Oh, excuse me, sir. It's raining heavy where I am too. It's been raining since yesterday, very, very heavy with lightning.
All right, let's hurry up and okay, you know what? We won't go. Let's hurry up and wrap this up, because if this is happening, next thing you know, we
And I'm not in Jamaica, sir.
Oh, where are you?
I'm actually in Florida.
Oh, you take the class in Florida?
Well, I transit. I'm in transit. I'm in Jamaica at times, here at times.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome. Have you introduced yourself to the class yet?
Sir, I've been done that already. It's Shannon.
Oh, you did that from were you in the last class semester?
Sir, I've been at all your classes.
But why are you in the class again?
No, as in this is my first time taking the class, but I've been here from the beginning.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, well, okay, good. And Did you talk? Is there anybody else in the class that is joining us for the first time and you haven't shared?
Claudine joining for the first time.
I
Claudine.
just want to make a comment before you move on, sir.
Yes, Natasha.
I was saying I'm not really a Bible person, so I have to say I read my Bible, but I don't know it like all the scholars in here. But if I can recall, there is one part of the Bible, I don't remember exactly where it is, where it says something if something about health or sicknesses or whatever, and it says that if you're not getting help from the Bible per se, you must seek physician. Something of the sort. I don't remember exactly, but it's basically telling you that yes, you call upon the Lord and the Lord help you. But what if it is something that you need to seek other help? And it's referring to other help like the bush doctor, the same thing that we call obia and all of that. It's
Well, I
not
mean,
only the
but
doctors.
the Bible is also a cultural book.
Right,
Cultural in the sense that there are people who have like the Old Testament.
right,
It's a cultural book. The Jews use it to continue their culture, some of their practices. The rabbis were the leaders of the cultures. Their job was to ensure that the culture continues to today. Okay. And so you talk about today, what we have is a fight against herbal science or a fight against the bush doctor. So there's a fight against the Obeah man. You know, anything that's against the status quo. We talk about the periphery and the periphery and as against the center. Anything that's not mainstream. Obeah is not mainstream because it's not European. Yes? The bush doctor is not mainstream because it's not Europe. Even if the bush doctor is not Obeah, it's bush doctor is still it's not mainstream and it's usually and it's not and because we are part of the Western civilization and we've been incorporated within the Western civilization and the Western world, devoid of our cultural identity to the point where we have been locked into a religious system that has taught us that we cannot find credence and inspirational value in anything that is historical and that give credence to any cultural antecedent that gives rise to who we are or who we were. Um, we that is a powerful point, Natasha. I'm happy you made that point.
sir, I'm not finished yet. You know.
Go ahead, Natasha. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I mean, we are so against obia, but then I can recall my grandparents saying that, oh, if if somebody's giving you trouble, you read Psalms this over a glass of water, call their names 9 times, and all of that, and all of that, and all of that. And I'm saying, isn't that a form of work in obia? Isn't
And
that
then
a I would if I
what about the key in the door? I mean, have
yes,
people
and if somebody steal from you, turn the Bible in the key in the Bible, and they will tell you who it is. I
part
mean,
of
isn't that
part of that comes from African traditions.
right? And I'm saying, isn't that a part of I wouldn't say obia is. I wouldn't say obia was a ritual. I believe obia is a ritual.
Yeah, no, I mean,
So
it's a tradition, it's a practice. Yes.
right.
It's
So is it
actually a
not a
religion.
ritual?
It involves herbal practice for healing, praying to the ancestors for strength. Nanny
Exactly.
used it for strength to fight the Europeans. Yes, that's what she did. And there are those people who may use it who might think that okay, they're gonna use it also for evil. So okay,
Right.
so people think that
I don't see
they,
why
that
persons
people
are so against obia, sir, when we say we have good and bad.
well, as I said to you, please remember, we're going to talk about this. Nothing bad, no good. Yes, nothing bad, no good.
All
Not sorry,
right, sir.
sorry. Nothing black, no good. Stemming from, and this is a logical point I'm making. This is the logic that has been created within the Western society. This is the logic. You listen to the logic. People, um, pe- people from Africa, yes, are not nothing black, no good. Yeah, people from Africa are black. Therefore, all Africans are black and therefore not good.
Sir.
No, listen to nothing black is good, yes? Black is nasty, black is evil, black is dirty. And I've often and when you study, I'm studying Africology. I study Africology, just so you know, and doing my doctorate in Africology, and it's quite powerful to do that. But when you part of that understanding is nothing black no good, is that's the idea within this. That's the Western concept. Black is not good, and then to give a race, and you know when you study Pan-Africanism or Afrocentricity, not Pan-Africanism, sorry, Afrocentricity. When you study Afrocentricity will help you to really explore the concept of blackness. And Afrocentrists will tell you the problem for African Americans is blackness, is that they have turned all Africans into black people. They have turned all Africans into black people, into a color that represents that which is black. I mean, that which is bad, that which is not good, because that is the concept. So not black, no good. All Africans are black. Therefore, we have this consciousness every day of being associated with that which is synonymous or metaphorically black, or whatever the case is, or bad, or no goodness. So, and then when we speak, we said we're going to blacklist people, yeah? And then we said Obia is bad, yes? But that's, I think, and I said it's in terms of, we have to change the way in which the symbols that we use and the names we give ourselves, according to some Africologists, and so on and so forth. According to Frantz Fanon in Black Skin's White Mask. In Black Skin's White Mask, he talks about the independence that the black man receive, or the freedom that we receive. He looks at it with suspicion because he said we should start from tabula rasas as nothing. Tabula rasas. That's what he says. We should start anew the history of man. We should start anew. We should start a new history of man for the Caribbean, for the global South, for those nationalists. And he wrote that book in the 1950s, just before he died. Anyways, quite powerful. Who is next? We have we're gonna take two more persons, and then we're gonna take a 5 minutes break, and then we go into the syllabus. Okay? But Claudine, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. Claudine Linton. I'm in my third year. I'm doing general studies with an emphasis in theology. To be honest, sir, this is my first time actually being in my face to think about the roots of Africa, where I'm originated from, where I come from. To think that we thought we are free, but when we look at the structures and infrastructures and things like the economy, we are not really free. But one question, and that's nagging me, sir, how can we build a resistance? How can we unite as Black people, build a resistance and not end up like Haiti, where the world cut us off? How can we regain or build our economy and infrastructure without depending on the outer world in terms of the policies that have been put in as barriers that we can't go this far as a Caribbean nation or as Jamaicans? How can we start from there? It is true that we don't really know where we're from, in the sense that...
No, stop. Who is talking? Claudine?
Yes, sir.
Oh my God, man. This is a powerful class. Quite powerful. Quite powerful. How can we build? That's what you ask?
Yes, sir.
And what else again?
How can we unite first as Black
here
people?
we go. You talk about I think you mentioned Haiti.
Yes, sir, because Haiti fought for their freedom and they look at Haiti now, they're literally cut off. Nobody's helping Haiti. How can we as Jamaican build a resistance and not end up like Haiti?
By the way, you know that you can still go and have a beautiful vacation in one off the keys in Haiti, though. You know that.
Oh, off the keys. I'd gladly say off the keys, sir.
And yeah, I mean, there are places in Haiti that you can travel and enjoy.
It was once the pearl of the Caribbean.
That's what. Yeah,
it was beautiful based on the history.
We've been talking. We've talked a lot about Haiti in this class. We've even written a petition. We've had several classes talking about Haiti. We've done so many discussions about Haiti in this, and we have a petition. Our class here at JTS, the Caribbean Thought Lab, we have a petition. You guys can sign the petition for a Haitian-led solution. We know what's going on in Haiti. We've done some work with Haiti, and we've also talked about La Coucajo, about learning in Haiti and so on. So if you guys want to learn more about what we're doing and so on, please, you can speak with me later on. But you talked about Haiti. Haiti, very important thing about Haiti. We have to learn how can we build, how can we grow. You talk about it as if they have put barriers so that we can grow, but we can't go beyond a certain barrier. Okay, we have to learn from what's going on with Haiti. What happened to Haiti? That's why this class is important, because you're going to learn what happened to Haiti. Why Haiti is in the position it is, because we're going to talk about Haiti. You're going to learn why Haiti is one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere today. Why? Okay, and who made it so? You're going to know why, what's going on with Haiti. And it's not just the people outside.
Not to cut you, sir, or interrupt, but I'm not sure if it's even now that Haiti still has to pay France. I'm not sure if that debt was canceled.
They have paid off the debt.
They have paid it off.
Yeah, that has also helped to affect Haiti debt. And the new book that I'm writing talks about there are many ways that has helped to create dependent capitalist nations or prevent the global south countries from growing and developing. One of it is debt. Of course, we learn about debt from the 1800s with Haiti. When Haiti got independence after their revolution in 1804, after they got independence, 1804, none of the established countries recognized their independence. The US, the UK, nobody recognized their independence. Because France said that they had to pay them. Because France did not recognize their independence, and France was part of those countries, the post-industrial power countries. They're friends with the powerful countries. They're not so nobody recognized Haiti's independence. So they said, in order for us to recognize your independence, you have to pay us billions of dollars. And for years, Haiti was in debt to France, and that has helped to keep Haiti down, in a sense, keep them dependent. And then, of course, after that, you have the problem with the other countries, the US and other countries try to take over Haiti. There's also infighting. There is also the issue of elitism. Almost same thing happened in Jamaica in the 1980s with JLP and PNP. Almost happened in Trinidad and Tobago. What happened in Grenada with Bishop and the CIA, and how our independence and the society that these countries created allows for the constant penetration, manipulation, and the kind of power dynamic that exists. It allows for the easy manipulation, control of the former colonial master. They can still control because of how the country is set up with the JLP and the PNP and the PLO and PNM and so on and so forth, and the kind of education that we are exposed to, that we are Black people and not African people who are inventors and have given the world civilization, because we start from a defeatist position and not a position of victory. And that is the idea of the Afrocentric paradigm. Okay, we don't start from slavery, we start from civilization. We start from sophistication. We start from when when African sailors came to the Caribbean as kings and queens. We start when they were here and gave sophistication to the American Indians that were here. And of course, and the fact that the Europeans, and you may ask, well, okay, if they gave the civilization and they were sophisticated, how is it that they allow these backward people in Europe to take over and to dominate them? Because according to a professor at Temple University, Africologist, Dr. Kimani Nehushi, they thought everybody had civilization. They thought everybody was peaceful. But I don't know if this is not an Africology class, but we will talk about some of those concepts. We won't be able to take any more students in the class. If you have not, David, are you new to the class, David?
Yeah, I'm new to the class.
What's going on?
My first class.
First, second year student. Tell me about yourself quickly.
Well, I'm David Foster. I'm a third year theological student. I'm listening and processing.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. What's your theology student?
Yes.
What have you been able to review the syllabus?
I have not yet been able to review it. I was trying from 2 weeks now. I basically give up, but let me just try again today, and it goes through. So I will.
Wow. Well, if you are new to the class, Chantel, are you still here? Chantel probably had to get off. She's not probably gonna.
Hi, good evening.
Chantel is the just give your name to Chantel. She'll send you the syllabus in an email. If you're not getting the email, let us know. Yeah, go ahead, Joan.
Sir, good evening. My name is Nalisa Palmer Williams. I'm new to the class as well.
What? Third year, first year, second year?
Second year. Okay. I'm in the field of guidance and counseling.
Okay, that's good. What do you hope to get out of JTS?
Sir, I hope to gain a deep understanding of the rich history and culture and social dynamic of the Caribbean region. Okay. So I'm here listening as well.
Very good. Thank you so much. What do you know about the Afrocentric paradigm, or do you know anything about the text? What is the textbook, Neoliberalism, or do you know anything about Afrocentric paradigm or Amamazama? Do you know anything about about the readings for today?
I'm new to it, no, sir.
All right. For those of us who are new to the class, I hope that you get that you have to watch those 2 videos that's available on JTS Online. Or you can go directly to the YouTube channel and go to Caribbean Thought Summer Semester. Anytime there is a new class, it's recorded, it's edited, and it's posted up on there. Please make notes when you watch the videos. Thirdly, I did ask the students to do a reflection on neoliberalism, the preface of that book, and to do a reflection on Amamazama's Afrocentric paradigm. So those are some of the 2 things. And if you go to JTS Online, there's an introduction, you can read it. Okay, but that's about it. But welcome to the class.
Oh, yeah.
Who is that? Carl Ajo?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. My name is Carla Jo Quinlan Saunders, and it's my first time in the class. Well, I tried last week, but you weren't here, and I really did not get a chance to put the assignment together, sir.
Okay.
But I am a theology student. I'm going into 3rd year also. I was there for a little. I was there a couple years ago, but I had just restarted because I had break for a long while. Okay. So I'm listening to the conversation and the different aspects of the prefix, sir. It is very interesting. So I am really open and ready to learn some more about the Caribbean, to also understand about some of the topics that was spoken of earlier. And I've heard the concept before, nothing black no good or so forth. So, but because we know better, because we're Jamaicans, I mean, we do know better, and we are positive onlookers. So
Next
we
week,
always see the brighter side to life, sir.
that is true. Next week, I will do the lecture next week will be available in print, so you will have that available. That's probably one of
Yes.
the ones you'll have in print. I think I also have a 35-page copy of my lectures, which you will get
Oh,
circulated.
okay,
Secondly,
sir.
I didn't tell you that week before last for some of the students, sir. But a lot of this stuff is new and fresh as well. So some of them is not available. But
Your voice getting a little bit low, so
sorry about that. But you will. I believe you'll have fun next week. You watch a video, and when you start, you'll learn some new things that I hope you will enjoy. All right. But welcome to the class. All right. If you have,
thank you, sir. I'm looking forward, and I haven't gotten the syllabus as yet either.
we'll ask
So
you hopefully before the end of this class, all the students will get it. I'm gonna ask.
okay.
All right. Before you leave, every student must have the syllabus. I've updated it. It's on JTS Online. So if you go to JTS Online, click on it, it should upload directly into your thing, onto your computer. I think that's how it works. I don't know, and that's how it works for me when I go on it. But if you should be able to download the syllabus easily. Okay. And I also sent you a copy in a message to JTS Online, but we will also email it to you. I'm gonna try and I'm gonna try and have Chantel email it to you. Chantel is my assistant, and she's the lecturer's assistant. She's a graduate of JTS. She has a bachelor's and she's doing her MBA at a university here in the US. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, man. Anybody else? Did I miss anybody? Nerissa, Jose, did I miss you?
Sir.
Sir, good evening.
Is that Wayne McKenzie?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Sir, good evening.
Am I related to you?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, sir. How you do? How you do?
I'm good. I got to see how you look.
All right. Let me see if we can turn on
I
the
gotta see how
camera.
you look to see if you are one of my relatives. Where are you? Where is?
Yes. You're seeing me now, sir?
Oh, that's how you're Hawaiian?
Definitely.
Oh, welcome to the class, Hawaiian. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Where are you coming from? Where are you
Jamaica. Definitely.
Where in Jamaica?
St. Thomas.
St. Thomas. Okay. Where in St. Thomas?
Lethal.
I know Lethal very well. I've been up Lethal before. My
Okay,
parents used to pastor a church in Morant Bay, and I think we used to go to Lethal up there to do mission work. But what's going on with what's going on with that in Lethal and that new the prime minister? Is that AI or is it real? That new complex in St. Thomas?
Oh, the urban center. Yes, man.
Yes.
It's real. It's real. It's real.
Wow,
It is real.
beautiful. They were working on this. I didn't know they were working on. What is this about? Is it? I mean, what's going on with it? Tell me about it. Is it gonna? Do you think it's gonna create opportunities in St. Thomas? Because St. Thomas is one of the poorest places in Jamaica and in the Caribbean.
All right. So
Sir, that is not true. So don't, sir, that is not true.
Wait. Yes, Lilith. I'm in agreement.
It is true,
Lilith.
but
We are not the poorest.
When I talk, hold on, when your professor speak, I don't speak off the top of my head. Just so you know, I'm gonna tell you who I am after when I'm done.
Just so you know, I'm saying that's not fact.
It's not fact. Why? Why it's not fact? Tell me.
You need to travel to Jamaica.
I said St. Thomas, yes, was one of the poorest places in the Caribbean.
Was one, not anymore.
One of the poorest places in the Caribbean, in Jamaica and the Caribbean. And I'm asking what's going on. Is it what's going on? They've built this new facility.
Owen, tell him what is happening.
Yeah, tell
But
me
St.
what.
Thomas is still underdeveloped.
Yes.
I would agree with Jerome if that Jerome, it's really underdeveloped because I'm living here over 30 plus years now, and there are some things that we still don't have full access to,
Yeah.
like other parishes. But we are getting there little by little. However, concerning the urban center, as you ask, sir, yes, for some, I believe that the urban center will bring
Yes.
employment for the parish.
Yeah.
Yes, but for some reason, I'm still not waiting to see the real economical development from the urban center. Based upon what I'm hearing, because I wasn't at the opening ceremony, but persons that went share with me that most of the businesses that are there, persons native from the parish, only about 3 persons got shops at the urban center. So it's
Wait,
mostly
hold on.
persons
Yeah, most from where?
from Kingston, businesses,
Okay,
Kingston,
okay,
coming
all right.
into the parish.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What about employment?
So it's only
What about employment? Is it gonna provide employment to the locals, or is it also people gonna be coming from outside of Kingston to work? Driving into the place. What kind of jobs will be available? Do people in St. Thomas, do they have the skill set to take those jobs? What else I wanted to? Those are some of the questions I wanted to find. You said only 3 people. Oh, I mean, are you gonna have our Chinese people coming to work there, or international gonna be driving like what they have at the free zone? Are we going, because eventually that's what happened with the free zone? Can you answer that question?
all right. So I think as I said, there are multiple businesses that are there, but most of the businesses that are there are from businessmen are from Kingston. So I'm not sure if they will be employing large portions from the parish. The only business that is there that I heard of is seeking employment for persons no is the KFC. Not sure about the other businesses, but so far that's what I'm hearing so far.
Wait, they're gonna have so they're gonna have KFC. Have St. Thomas don't have a KFC? Is this the first one?
So it's the first one. Yes, the first one.
The first. Now turn to Lilith. Lilith, where is Lilith? Lilith, I had said earlier that St. Thomas was or is one of the poorest parishes. I said was because I don't have figures as at today, but as at 2 weeks ago, St. Thomas was one of the poorest parishes in Jamaica. Now tell me, now I would like you to refute that.
I'm not gonna do it because I'm not in the mood.
No, but you cannot, in this class, you cannot refute something without having proof. You don't leave things hanging. You don't make a statement without the ability to back it up. So you have said
I did not say I could not.
challenged your professor. You challenge your professor. You have challenged your professor. Now I
Wow,
want you.
very well.
So now I want you to tell me how your professor is wrong. Can you do that, Lily? When you make a statement that is profound, you cannot make it without knowing or having evidence to back it up or to corroborate it. In criminal justice, so and I work in criminal justice, just so you know, outside of the other stuff, the myriad of things I do. A lawyer an attorney or a judge does not ask a question that he or she does not know the answer to. He or she is only asking the question to lead you somewhere or to facilitate something of a strategy. St. Thomas, despite I've written a book on neoliberalism, globalization, income inequality, poverty, and resistance, doing doctoral research on poverty, and completed it and doing something else. Okay, St. Thomas, despite its proximity to the capital, Kingston, is the poorest parish in Jamaica. Okay, that's according to PIOJ statistics and Statting and every other statistics and news report that we have. The poverty rate has more than doubled in the past decade, reaching 33%, and is projected to climb to over 60% by 2027 if the current growth rate continues. High unemployment, around 30%, and a lack of economic opportunities contribute significantly to the poverty. Okay, that much we know, and I can point you to where you can go to get the information. Okay, I can point you to where you can go to get the information, and it's right there in Jamaica. All right.
Sir, I do know how to research my information if needs
Great.
be. All right. So,
and I didn't say it to sound condescending to Hawaiian about Jamaica about St. Thomas being one of the poorest, or St. Thomas being one of the poorest, but the fact that it is. But I said that I'm saying that because I'm hearing that Jamaica's poverty rate has been dropped to 8.2%, but it's not everywhere. In some places, it has exacerbated. It is growing. In fact, there is an issue called abject poverty. There is poverty, and then there is abject poverty. Okay, we'll talk about that later on. Who is next?
Sir, I had my hand up, so I'll just take it.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So, on the note of St. Thomas, I was listening for Howard to say about the developments that we're taking there with the highway coming about. Okay. I was also listening for Howard to say to us that the rivers and beaches and how they were being used for tourist attraction and how persons were using it to diversify and make an income. But I did not hear any of that, and I know that these things are taking place from my visits to St. Thomas.
Okay, but you visit St. Thomas, right, Shannon?
Yes, sir.
Hawaiian, wait, hold on. Hawaiian, do you live in St. Thomas?
Yes, sir. I agree with Shannon, it's just that we were zooming on the urban center. What she's saying, she's perfectly correct.
Okay.
Yeah, she's 100% correct on that.
All right, so you're saying you agree with Shannon that yes.
Yeah, man, totally agree with Shannon.
But for about 10 years, I used to travel to St. Thomas almost every Sunday and Wednesday. We were very engaged with the people there. We did mission work there, the Morant Bay Evangelistic Center. Yeah. Anyways, who is next?
I actually have family down there, sir. So it's not just, yes. So I do have family there as well. And I do come for the East Indian mangoes from time to time.
They have ecotourism.
Yeah, I get no more.
I tell my friends here in the US to go to St. Thomas. I said, please don't go to said to Antigua Bay. Go to St. Thomas. Go to what's that place in St. Thomas? Go to Portland, that side of the country. Enjoy it. Don't they still have those mineral baths and stuff in St. Thomas?
Yes, sir. That's what I was about to elaborate on. Bad Fountain is now developed almost into a hotel.
Okay.
People, St. Thomas, we have a lot of resources, a lot of natural resources. So you can come over and enjoy. Yes, definitely. Underused.
Yes. That's good. Thank you so much. We will talk also not just about Jamaica. We'll shift attentions in this class talking about various other islands. Just so you know, you will have. I will spend a lot of time talking about Jamaica, so on and so forth. You will have an assignment to research the other Caribbean islands and to present on the Caribbean islands. So, and you guys are going to enjoy that. I gave that to the last two group classes, and they ran away with it. Group presentations, they did YouTube stuff. It was amazing. It was great. So we're going to put you in groups before the class ends, so that you guys can start getting into your groups and working on that major assignment, which is also the final presentation for the class. The
So
research.
remember, we're already in our groups.
You're already in groups? Oh, but there are people who are here.
Newcomers not in group.
Now listen, when we put you guys in groups, it was just 21 people. Now we have 40 people in the class. So we're going to have to find out who was not here, who is not in group, who are the students here not in group, not in the group, and we'll put you in a group. All right. We take a 5 minutes break. When we come back, we come back at 9:05 US Eastern time. No. Whatever. We come back at 9:05 US Eastern time, 8:05 Jamaican time. When we come back at 8:05, then we will
Sir, how many persons are in the groups, and when was this group made?
Can I tell you, I don't know anything about
Because I've been here for all 3 classes and
Exactly,
first about
Anna.
this.
I
Oh,
do
no,
not
we're not
know.
in a group.
I don't
I
may
don't-
say I've been
I
here
don't-
for all the classes. I don't
I
know
don't
if
know. I don't know either. So tell you what, let's leave the group at the end of the
Please,
class.
Lord have mercy.
We'll ask Chantel to help us. And we'll ask Chantel to help us to sort the group thing out. She's very helpful. She helps me with these things. I don't know what's going on. We need a class monitor. Every class I have, we choose a class rep. Someone who would be able to take the class concerns. You may not like some of the stuff, what's going on, but I don't know, a class rep. So this is how you have a class rep. So we'll have a class rep. So you guys will get to choose a class rep to liaison between the professor or the lecturer's assistant and myself. But we'll take a break right now. We'll come back in. Do you want a 5 or 10 minutes? By the way, can I get a commitment from you guys that you will stay until we finish the syllabus? So if we go till 10:05, you will stay until 10:05?
Yes, sir. I think tomorrow we are gonna drop asleep, sir. Tired.
No, please. Just this class. And next week class, we're gonna
10:05, sir. That's a long time.
10:05. It's 10:05.
No, which is 9:05
It's
for us
9
here.
o'clock here. Do you know it's 9 o'clock here? It is
Okay.
9 o'clock here, yes. And I have
9:01, sir.
9:01, and I have to teach until 10 o'clock. And then when I'm done, I continue working, doing some reports that I had to do that I couldn't get to because I have to teach. And then I finish that report at midnight tonight. And then
Sir, I will commit, but let me remind you that because of the lightning storm here, the laptop is plugged out.
All right, so
And
tell you what,
run
let's
that
be
risk.
quick. I need to. So you guys want the break now? A quick 5 minutes break to stretch your legs real quick.
Yeah, we will. Yes.
All right, and then we'll come back. We'll come back and we'll try and finish the syllabus as quickly as possible. Because I just want to go through so that you guys understand it. If you have any questions, you can ask the questions. Questions about the book, questions about the research paper, questions about any assignments that's due, whatever, That's what we're going to take it today. And then after that, I don't want to have to revisit this. I just want to take the final hour of the class. We're going to go through the syllabus, the requirements, what you need to be doing, and so on. And then so that next week, we just move into the lectures, and then the following week, the first guest lecturer, Reverend Dr. Hewitt Holmes, and then who is from the Church of Canada, and he's going to be presenting to us from Toronto. I may not be at class that day because it's my birthday on June 14th. So Monday, I take off. I will be away on vacation. All right. All right, so we take a quick 5 minutes break. So let's come back at 9:10. All right, 9:10.
Okay, sir.
All right. We talked about post-colonialism in the beginning of the class, the first class we had, and we said that post-colonialism looks at the lingering effects of colonization. Our attitude to African traditions is part of the lingering effects, yes, of colonization. And the damage that has been done to us by colonization, according to people like Fanon and nationalists and people who are in the resistance movement, and I write about the resistance movement in neoliberalism, the damage that is the kind of violence that it took to undo a people's cultural identity, they said it requires the same kind of violence, but not necessarily a violence that destroys edifice. It could be strategic violence, one that what your professor is doing philosophically by making people uncomfortable in terms of his choice words. Yes? But anyway, but please forgive me if you feel as though I have done so. But this is Caribbean Thought. And welcome to the class. Today we want to explore the course. We said the course explores diverse currents of Caribbean thought from Camid to post-colonialism. In fact, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I was going to share the PowerPoint presentation, but I'm not going to do that because it's very short, and then I want to delve into the syllabus, Caribbean Thought summer semester. In fact, I am going to go to here we go. Open it. Caribbean Thought summer semester. Where is it? There we go. Read layout. Review. Read layout. There we go. Now I can share my screen. Again. Go to this. So I'm recording. So this is the syllabus. Now,
that's fine.
if you guys have the syllabus,
I'm Renaldo McKenzie, the author of
you would see the course outline, Jamaica Theological Seminary, the lecturer, the course title, Caribbean Thought. Your lecturer, Reverend Renaldo McKenzie, lecturer's assistant, Chantel Burton, head of department. The course code is a 2200 level course. Every course has a level. This is a 22. It could be 22. When you get to the PhD level or the graduate level, you're going to see courses level like at 600 level, 500 level. Okay, but at the undergraduate level, you have 1, 2, 3, maybe 300. You might have 400, some 400 level courses. But at the collegiate level, at the doctoral level or postgraduate level, you will see 500 levels. So these numbers are important because it tells you what level. And those levels tells you what you are able to do within a course. With the total number of hours you're supposed to be the total number of hours for this course is 42 hours. You are required to do at least 39 hours in order to pass this course. If you do less than 39 hours, you will have to resit the course. Remember that. And it's not just, that's how courses are written. Courses.
Sir?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Chantel? Chantel? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I can hear you. But you're a little bit low though, but can hear.
Chantel. Can you hear me now?
Excellent.
Okay, Chantel?
Sir, it looks like she's bumped off. She's not on the platform.
She's having internet issues, and I think it's getting worse.
No, sir, I'm driving, so where I'm driving, sometimes the cell service is not where I'm at times. I'm on the toll road and home.
What's going on?
If they can please send their groups in the WhatsApp chat, please.
Oh,
thank you very much.
Chantel is asking you guys to send the groups that you have chosen that you want. If you have chosen a group, send it to her. If you have not, that's fine. We'll put
WhatsApp
you in
group. Thank you very much.
You can send it via the WhatsApp. I think some people are having problems. Using the chat because of what's going on with the weather and the technical issues. When some people,
I don't have all the groups because I'm driving, so the weather is in and out, and so
all right.
I'm having groups.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. No problem. All right. Okay. Now, I don't want any more interruptions moving forward. Once I begin to go through this particular thing, I do not want any more interruptions. Okay. If you have any questions about the group or anything other than this, then please we'll take it afterwards. All right. Okay. So now, so we're reviewing the course outline. it's 42 hours. Now, if you miss, and this is academic standards, if you miss, if you anywhere in the world, and because we're an academic institution that is accredited, we have to follow the international accreditation standards to keep the standard of the course. Now, so if you miss, if you only come to this course for 38 hours, you would have failed the course. So you need to come to the course at least 39 hours to pass the course. Okay, so you cannot come to the course for less than 39 hours. So say, for example, you come to the course is for 3 hours. You miss the first hour, but you come for 2 hours of the course. That 1 hour is part of the 42 hours. So you come to class, but you miss 2 hours. And JTS is going, and JTS that was never part of JTS standards, but because it's going towards an international standards and they are standardizing educational requirements, I think over the last couple of years they have done so. So over the last 5-7 years, I think so, or 6-8 years, they have done that. So if you miss an hour of this class, let's say you miss an hour of the first class, and then you miss an hour of the second class, and then you miss an hour of the third class, that is 3 hours you have missed. That means you have exhausted all your hours that you can miss. Okay. I think so. I'm encouraging you guys. So it's not just missing the class where that can affect your class attendance, but it is the time, because we are also using contact hours. So if you only come, and we use Zoom to trace your contact hours. So if Zoom says to us you've only been online for 38 hours of the entire 42 hours that we've had class, or and sometimes let's say, for example, we didn't have a class in week 3, but we gave you an assignment to do the reflection. I'm using that to mark your attendance. When you complete the assignment and submit it, you submit it means you attended the class. You had a class, you submitted it, you did the assignment. The class was for you to read the preface of Neoliberalism, read Amamazama's Afrocentric paradigm, and of course, to demonstrate that you have done so, you're supposed to send in an interaction paper, providing a response paper, discussing concepts raised or ideas raised, or you could have sent it in the paper or discuss it in the chat. But I'm just using that as a way to determine that. So now I am not going to, but what I've done, I will not start from week 1. I will not start from week 2 because, okay, fine, some of you are just starting the course. So starting from this week, you are only allowed to miss a total of 3 hours. Okay, not 3 classes, but 3 hours starting from this week. So let us say we start at 7 o'clock and you come at 7:30. You've already missed 30 minutes. Okay. All right. So please remember that. All right. The prerequisite for this course is usually Philosophy 101 or Critical Thinking and Caribbean Studies. So in order to do this course, Caribbean Thought, we would have loved for you to be exposed to Philosophy 101. Philosophy 101 is the introduction to philosophy. So probably you would have understood you would have probably known about epistemology briefly, an introduction to epistemology or epistemological thinking. You would have been probably exposed to what metaphysics is. Metaphysics is what is ultimately real about reality. Okay. Critical thinking, and I don't know if you guys have done critical thinking, which is thinking about thinking and what was previously thought. Critical thinking is thinking about thinking and thinking that way. But we will discuss critical thinking in this course. The class is 7 to 9. Zoom link, you have the Zoom link there. Now, the course description. Before I go into the course description, question, Jacinth?
Oh, yes, sir. I was just You know what you're saying, talking about if you miss 3 hour class. To tell you the honest truth, sir, I'm not going to be early for class. Reason be,
Okay.
I
All
work in
right.
Kingston.
That's it. Hold on.
Sir,
That's it. Could you hold on a second? I did ask that I do not have any more interruptions until at the end of to that finish. If you have questions what about anything that I am saying, I'm gonna ask that you hold them, make a note of them, and at the end we will have questions about them. All right?
okay.
Because I'm really trying to finish the syllabus because next week I really don't want to go over the syllabus. So I'm trying to finish this, and then if you have any questions, you can take them after. If we can't finish them in this, I'm gonna ask that you text me, send the text, have a conversation with me this week. Schedule a meeting with me with Chantel, and we can have a conversation over the phone, and we can talk about this. But at the end of this class, I will not leave. I'll be available for a few minutes for people who want to ask questions about this, and we will. If you can't stay at the end, then you could schedule to meet with me throughout the week, and we can talk about it. All right. But next week, as I said to you, we want to move on to the lecture. We want to begin with the lecture that I prepared for you guys and to watch the movie Life and Death. And then the following week, we're having a guest lecturer, which I have to make sure, and he's going to be here, and I'm going to be off. So, but I will take what you are saying. We will talk about that. But the course description, question, we're going to start here. This is very vital. What I'm about to do is vital. I'm going over the syllabus. But the presentation the points I'm going to discuss in my presentation of the syllabus is very important. That's why I'm asking you, please do not give me some chance to present it and then you guys can present. Question, is there a paradigm? Is there a pattern? Is there a strategy? Is there an approach to Caribbean thought? Again, question. Think about it. Is there a paradigm to Caribbean thought and Caribbean studies? Is there a paradigm? Is there a paradigm to Caribbean thought and Caribbean studies? One that is Afrocentric within Caribbean academia. One that is Afrocentric. I want you guys to drown out everything, drown out the noise, and focus on the class and the thought I'm presenting before you. Think about it. Close your eyes. Think about it. Think about it. Is there a paradigm, a scientific approach, an epistemological approach, an approach to Caribbean thought and Caribbean studies that is uniquely Caribbean, one that is Afrocentric within Caribbean academia? What am I asking? What am I getting at? Or is there a paradigm to Caribbean thought or Caribbean studies that is Afrocentric within Caribbean academia? Or is it European, Eurocentric? What is it? We will begin with that. This course focuses and explores the diverse currents of Caribbean thought, which have influenced the development of Caribbean societies. This course focuses on and explores the diverse currents of Caribbean thought, which have influenced the development of Caribbean societies from the time of Kemet. Who the hell is Kemet? Or who in the heavens is Kemet? From the time of Kemet to colonialism, independence, and beyond. Just so you know, when this course started by Reverend Dr. Garnet Roper, who was the president of JTS, but he was the original professor of this course. And when he started this course, the course was originally to explore the diverse currents of Caribbean thought which have influenced the development of Caribbean societies from the time of slavery So he started this course by talking about slavery. Over time, then David Pearson taught the course, then I have been teaching the course. And the course have changed over time. So that now we are not contending, we're not looking at Caribbean society from the outset of slavery, but from the time of Kemet to colonialism, independence, and beyond. Now, I asked you to read Amamazama's Afrocentric Paradigm, which is quite important because now that I have asked you to read Amamazama's Afrocentric Paradigm, you understand, you will now understand what we are contending for and what we're doing here. Because I say to you, Doctor, when Reverend Garnet Roper taught the course, it was a course that explores the diverse current of Caribbean thought, which have influenced the development of Caribbean societies from the time from slavery. Okay, but now we're reading the description of the course, and we're talking about from the time of Kemet to colonialism, independence. So now we are even starting from before slavery. Why? Why are we starting Caribbean thought from before slavery? When we look at influence that have come to develop Caribbean life, Caribbean societies, Caribbean philosophy, Caribbean theology, Caribbean thought. Why? You should be able to tell me why, because you guys have read Amamazama's Afrocentric Paradigm, which is available free of cost in academia.edu. And anybody can tell me why? Well, we don't have time, so let me continue. It traces the history of resistance, focusing on a position of victory. That's the key word. That's what the Afrocentric paradigm is all about. And that's what Afrocentricity is all about. Okay? It traces the history of resistance, focusing on a position of victory rather than oppression. It starts from a position, it traces the history of resistance, focusing on a position of victory rather than oppression, and examines the quest for equality and the challenge of defining Caribbean identity within this anti-African, post-colonial, and neoliberal globalized world, not just within the geographic sense, but also in terms of a diasporic sense. It challenges the students to develop and express their own critical thinking as a Caribbean people, or as Caribbean people, within a unique way that helps to realize further the hope of a free, to help to realize and further the hope of a free, independent, and Caribbean. That is what? That is bursting with hope and opportunity. That's very important. That part is very important. We would not start. So therefore, you're going to understand why we're not starting with the fact that with Christopher Columbus coming to discover the Caribbean, or we're not starting with 12 years of slavery as they usually do. A defeatist position, because we're trying to change consciousness through learning that is dynamic. So the course understands that it requires that students begin to critique and explore their own thinking in deeply esoteric, deep. To be esoteric is to be deep. And critical ways that deconstructs history and philosophy. Neoliberalism, your textbook, is a book that is written within a deconstructivist and critical historical way. It is within the categories of deconstructivist history and critical, or deconstructivist philosophy and critical history. Neoliberalism, your textbook, Neoliberalism, Globalization, and the course, Caribbean Thought, is really a course that deconstructs history critiques history and deconstructs philosophy, or deconstructs philosophy and critiques history. At the end, you will create your own Caribbean thought, leading to a Caribbean academic journal of young academics and future scholars. The students will be challenged to develop their thinking and analysis within a paradigm that is Afrocentric rather than Eurocentric. I will be doing you a disservice if you come back and all you hear is me preaching to the choir. That is not education. Okay? Many students have come to the class thinking, they're coming to have their ego stroke and to be comfortable. That learning does not happen like that, and it does not happen in isolation and in a vacuum. I will be doing a disservice. I used to teach apologetics. Apologetics is the use of logic to defend the faith. I used to teach it at JTS many years ago. And I said to students, many students are afraid to have their faith pushed and challenged, but we must be able to push things to their logical end. And this course provides an opportunity for you to do that. It is not to brainwash you. Yes? It is for you to understand the truths and how many truths have come to bear, and it forces you to develop your own history. It puts you in direct response, in charge of your life, of your history. A history that has been largely written for us. The course will make you estranged. The students will be challenged to develop their thinking and analysis within a paradigm that is Afrocentric rather than Eurocentric. The course will make you estranged from yourself. It is geared towards getting you out of your bubble, considering issues that will make you uncomfortable. So when I confronted Hawaiian in the way I did, I've oftentimes done that. When I confronted Hawaiian in the way I did, and I evoke a response which I did from Lilith, and I challenge Lilith, that it is important to have that kind of discourse for you to see it and for you to facilitate it, because this is the kind of boldness that Caribbean thinkers and negotiators need when we go before people all anywhere in the world. That is exactly the criticism that some Caribbean people levied against Caribbean leaders and government. And when you watch the film Life and Death, you'll see some people leveling that against their leaders. Our leaders were weak, need, and lack vision. And that is why they created the former colonial masters were still able to get away with creating a dependency, with helping to thwarting Caribbean development. We talk about Haiti being the pearl of the Caribbean. In 1950s, Jamaica and Singapore were competing for who has the highest GDP growth, growing at 5.7% per annum. Okay, that was in the early 1960s and the late 1950s when we discovered bauxite, and we thought that Jamaica was supposed to be the pearl of the Caribbean, and so on and so forth. We've had 8.2% poverty. Okay, we've been there. So many people think that I'm all negative. It's not about being negative. We must know our history, because if we don't know our history, we'll continue to make the same mistakes in the past that brought us to where we are today. So the course helps to facilitate a kind of thinking that prevents us from that. The course surveys the history and philosophy of the Caribbean and how the Caribbean has emerged as a society in the shadow of colonialism and the emergence of neoliberal globalization. It examines the region's central ideological currents of 20th century political thought. It covers broad topics such as the Afrocentric paradigm, African social philosophy, cosmopolitanism versus Afropolitanism. I won't have time to talk about that because of time. Later on, we'll talk about that. Afrocentrism versus Afrocentric and Eurocentric. Afrocentrism talks about it is one way to see the world. Eurocentric says it is the only way to see the world. That's why Christianity would say, I am the way, the truth, and it has a caveat. There's a caveat within Christendom or within Christianity that speaks to this Eurocentric value. Yes? as against Afrocentricity, which was never never adopted a worldview of privilege, but a worldview of inclusivity. Colonialism will also contend with nationalism, Pan-Africanism, socialism, Marxism, feminism, democratic socialism, neoconservatism, neoliberalism, globalization and deconstructivism and critical race theory strategy, and the foundations of knowledge and the hegemony of faith, economic inequality and poverty. Those are some of the things we will contend with, or concepts we will contend with. Among the thinkers that we will explore throughout the course are like Marcus Garvey, George Padmore, Selah James. You're going to have to know that some of these people or understand them a little bit, because you will be asked in the exam some of these people. And when you are asked to do a presentation on the Caribbean islands, some of these people will come up like Selah James and the Black Jacobins, which you will hear me talk about in next week. The introduction to part of the class, we will introduce Selah James, because Selah James helped us to understand the idea of the Afrocentric paradigm. And even though Selah James was said to be writing from the periphery, he was writing from a Caribbean milieu. He was the Caribbean. Here is a Caribbean scholar now in the 1950s and 60s, writing about Caribbean issues. Finally, somebody from the Caribbean writing about Caribbean history. But guess what the problem? He was not Afrocentric enough. He was not Afrocentric, although he meant well, and he was writing about Haiti and Caribbean history and putting it into proper perspective. He still missed the mark a bit, because his history was influenced by a European understanding of history. Although he was talking about Toussaint and how he and what Toussaint did to bring Haiti their revolution, and that he was the leader of the revolution. Many Haitians don't believe that Toussaint was the leader of the revolution. They believe that Toussaint was seen as the leader of the revolution by Europeans, by people outside of Haiti, because the Europeans and the former colonizers refused to think that this black man, this uneducated black man, who wasn't versed in European military, was able to defeat Napoleon, Napoleon and the French army, which at the time in the late 1700s to the 1800s, early 1800s, was said to be the major superpower at the time. The France was the superpower at the time. So they, according to European history and Caribbean people who were exposed to European history from Harvard and the Cambridge and so on and so forth, the kind of history they run with, the history that says Toussaint, because Toussaint was in the French military, yes, and he was trained and he was very proper and very French. He was very much assimilated into the French ways and the French military. So that's the only way that these group of band of black people from Haiti could defeat there's no way that a simpleton, a little black man from Haiti, that little Obeah man and a voodoo man, Dirty Book man and Dessalines. Dirty Bookman and Dessalines. There's no way them two men could help to lead the revolution. But Selah James don't talk about that, because Selah James, as much as he meant well, wasn't being Afrocentric. Among the other, okay, that's how you critique. When you ask to critique, you see how I did a critique of Selah James just now. We asked you to do a critique of a thinker. You don't just say what, or he was born in Trinidad. He was born in Trinidad and Tobago, and he wrote the book Black Jacobins about Haiti and how Haiti get the revolution and that. No, that's not what this is academia. This is what are you doing? You're writing about a thinker, C.L.R. James, and at this level, you see how I was able to write to give a reflection about C.L.R. James. He's from Trinidad. Yes, fine. Yes, he wrote about he was, but of course he went to school and to college in the U.S. and ultimately taught in the U.S. and wrote a book, the Black Jacobins, about how about Haiti got their independence because of what Toussaint did. But of course, we know it wasn't. And he talks about there's something about the Haitians though that I like. He talks about the physique and what make them so unique. And that, when he tells you, he describes the Haitians and so on, but we'll talk about that next week. But I want, you see how I was able to interact and to critique and to work with that just now. So if I ask you to write about, to interact with a topic, you interact with it. Yes, he talks about that, but I didn't like how he used European tropes, and that is why he missed the mark a bit, because he used European tropes, he didn't see people like Dottie Bookman, who was from Senegambia, went to Jamaica, and then run away from Jamaica to Haiti. He missed Dessalines, okay? You know what I mean? Anyway, people like V.S. Naipaul and Double Bet, Michel Foucault, Frantz Fanon, who wrote Wretched of the Earth, Bob Marley, who says, I don't look to the east or the west, I look to the I and I. What is Bob Marley talking about when he says, I don't look in Who Shot the Sheriff? We're going to watch that. I don't look to the east. I don't look to the west. I look to the I and I. What is he talking about? Is he talking about the U.S.? Is he talking about the USSR at the time, which represented by the Soviets or by communism, and he's talking about, and I don't look to that's the East, and the West will be the Western world represented by the Washington Consensus. Here it goes, the Washington Consensus, the West, the Western world, the US, yes, the Europe, the post-industrial in the Europe. That's the West, the capitalism. I don't look to the East. I don't look to the West. Yes, I don't look to capitalism or communism. I look to the I and I. Yes, I don't look to their religions either. I look to the I and I. What is he talking about right there? Yes, some of the people that Kamal Brathwaite and Edward Glissant and the Negritude movement, Homi Bhabha talked about the location of culture, the periphery, and the center. What is the periphery? What is what's the center? The center is that which is mainline. Those are tropes that you must understand. When as academics, you look at things in pattern. You look you look at tropes. Okay, what it is that when you look at society, what binary we use to define society, what dualism. Okay, we talk about the center and the periphery, the north and the south, the center and the periphery. When you look at the culture in the Western societies, what is mainstream is that which is European, that as against what is the periphery, what is off center, what is taboo is that which is African. Yes, that's very important when you study Caribbean thought, Caribbean studies. Caribbean studies was supposed to do that. We're supposed to study those binaries, those tropes that help us, the lens with which we approach society, and how we, within the Western world, the approach that we have. We talk about, again, the mainstream, what is mainstream and what is not, the center and the periphery. Okay, so therefore, we talk about V.S. Naipaul. He was not mainstream as a literary genius. People like Louise Bennett Coverley. She's not mainstream she was never mainstream within the Western world that we live, that we find ourselves dominated by Western artistry and so on. Louise Bennett was part of the periphery, so her work was always underrated. V.S. Naipaul, anything Caribbean, anything black, anything brown, was always periphery, was never part of the mainstream. Homi Bhabha talked about the location of culture. The location of culture, Homi Bhabha, is very important when we talk about that. Very important. What is mainstream what is not mainstream. What is center, what is periphery. The African is always anything black is always off center. Yes, periphery. So the literature, writing, discovery is always off center. But anything European always takes center stage. Religion, culture, books, discoveries, music, center stage. As again, okay, Homi Baba talked about the location of culture. And then we could talk. There's also Mike Davis and Nelson and Novella Keith. Nelson and Novella Keith wrote the book, The Social Origins of Democratic Socialism in Jamaica. That book is not available in Jamaica, but I'll help to share some of the ideas from that book. It's a book that's at Temple University. Very good book. Garnet, Roper, Rex Nettleford, so on and so forth. We will draw from a selection of contemporary newspapers. I think we're out of time. We'll finish. I'll wrap this up, and I guess I'll have to continue with this next week. But let me finish this part. Each semester, the selections of thinkers and social movements we examine will vary. Let me see. The course also looks at the role of music, art, and sports in carrying the spirit of resistance and in shaping and defining Caribbean identity. Say, for example, in terms of cricket, there wasn't a black captain, West Indies cricket captain until the late 80s or something like that. We'll talk about that. It examines the role of collective Christian presence and suggests a public theology priority for the church in the region, but also considers opportunities to that takes advantage of science and technology and leveraging social media and digital technology as a way to express these critical thinking and ideas. Let's go to the next slide. The goals involve, you will have an understanding of the outline of Caribbean history. I will present that. In fact, you will have hard copies of that. So you will have hard copies of some things for people who want to know, are we going to get any materials? Yes, this course is, I will start circulating materials, but I don't usually start it early because I want you guys to take some initiative and to develop a proactive stance. But you will get an outline of the Caribbean, the colonial history from the time of Kemet to here. So you'll have an idea of Caribbean history. You already have it, but we're gonna we adjust it to include the Afrocentric paradigm. Develop a Caribbean perspective informed by an Afrocentric paradigm. Of course, students will understand the difference between an independence that is foreign and one that is unique to the people and place. Say, for example, I say to you, we got the Caribbean, we got independence. Nations got independence, but, well, some didn't, but many got independence through ceremonies. Or freedom through ceremonies. Are we really free? Are we really independent? If another class of people or race, or we say race of people, grant you freedom, then are you free? In a sense, it means that you recognize that those people as gods because they're giving you freedom. When I thought that all men were free. I thought all people were independent. Why does it require us to have ceremonies and an act of parliament in order to grant other people free? That means an act of parliament can also undo that freedom. And that means you pay homage to the person that grants you freedom. That means that man who gives you freedom, that man, where does his freedom come from? To be able to give freedom. And then it forever facilitates a dynamic between the freedom giver and the freedom receiver. Because as much as you want to upend slavery and the dynamics of slavery and colonization, the consciousness of the dynamic of the freedom given and the independence still conveys a power dynamic that continues colonialism today. Students will understand the difference between an independence that is foreign and one that is unique. You will understand the difference between Eurocentrism and Afrocentrism. You will explore attitudes towards African traditions and spirituality. You'll contend with an agency driven by Caribbean consciousness and paradigm. We're going to talk about the idea of agency. What is agency within Afrocentric paradigm or within a Caribbean paradigm? Agency is a very important concept, and I want all of you to write that word down and to circle it. Circle the word agency. Next week, we will talk about agency. Very important concept. As one of our resistance, agency, the development of agency. How do we do that? And how do you do that as guidance and counselors? How do you do that as theologians and as pastors and as professionals? How do you do that as parents and as community leaders? How do you develop agency within communities, within people? Agency helps to develop, to facilitate a kind of consciousness. Yes? But what kind of consciousness? Is it one that is informed by a Eurocentric, by a Eurocentric influence or African, or one that is dynamic? Dynamic is ongoing and ever-changing. Understand the impact of that history on current reality, which is post-colonialism. Understand and appreciate the influence of key historical and current figures. Understand and appreciate how the history of the Caribbean shaped your own personal history. Understand specific ideologies that arose from social and political realities of the Caribbean. Understand personal backgrounds, so on and so forth. There's one other one I want to put. Our students will develop a lens within which to analyze texts and make conclusions about life. That's a very important one. Students will be exposed to the Afrocentric paradigm, African civilization from the time of Kemet, and the study of Africology, applying it to the Caribbean, to their Caribbean studies. You guys will be the only one who can do that. No other institution is set up to be able, is doing what we are doing in terms of the way we are teaching Caribbean thought. Jamaica Theological students are far ahead, way ahead of institutions like University of Technology and University of West Indies in terms of developing a kind of course that is geared towards the goals and the learning outcomes with a strong emphasis on rediscovering a kind of Afrocentric paradigm so as to rediscover and to rescue the bastardization of Caribbean culture, Caribbean identity, and Caribbean society. You will develop an understanding of Afrocentrism versus Afrocentric and Eurocentrism, and you will develop, students will develop a unique Caribbean approach to global challenges. You should be able to trace your roots and explore alternative concepts to Caribbean history and spirituality, and develop an appreciation for diverse backgrounds.
Sorry, you're gone low again, sir.
Sorry, you will develop an appreciation for diverse backgrounds. This part is important. Diverse backgrounds. Say, for example, Jamaican revivalism. That's a denomination. That's a religion. Just like any other religion, and it is difficult to see another people practicing their religion and call it negative. Well, I don't know. Well, there are people who don't find that difficult because within their faith leads them to make assertions or to make adjudications about other people's religions and faith. But but I won't do that. But I'm saying to you though that we're talking. We cannot practice, but we cannot practice hypocrisy and duplicity. We cannot be talking about freedom and equity and as Black people fighting for and women freedom and so on. At the same time, we're discriminating against other practices that is even for our own brothers and sisters, people practicing their African traditions and calling it negative based on our limited experience and the corruption of knowledge that persists. Because I will talk about Kant. What does Kant say about history? Kant says that history is a result of the varieties of human natures and circumstance. What does that mean? It means everything that is powerful. It is deep. History is a result. Not that history is natural. or people just come up on history. You know, somebody said, I was reading Homer in the Iliad, and in Richard Vogel's in Homer, the Iliad, in the book, the Iliad, Homer, Richard Vogel's. He said, people today live, and people years down the line make sense of it, of that history. History is for the future. Okay? History is for the future. And whatever, and according to Kant, history is a result of the varieties of human natures and circle. Whatever is happening within the moment, and whoever rules the day will help to make determinations about how we see or approach history, so on and so forth. So therefore, that is why we talk about deconstructivist history or deconstructing philosophy and critiquing history. Because as much as we embrace the law of we understand the law, we talk about the law of thermodynamics or David Hume and his science, but everything is not built in stone, according to some people. There is some things are imposed upon because of the varieties of human natures. We'll talk about that later on in the class if I have time. Learning outcomes. Okay, we will finish in 5 minutes, and then anything I don't get to finish, we will wrap up. We'll pick up next week and then move into the lecture. You will develop a critical understanding. In fact, I won't do the learning outcomes. You will read the learning outcomes on your own. We're going to skip this class. We're going to do lectures, digital and multimedia presentations, guided group work, weekly journals and interactions, essays and quizzes, cinematic film presentations, surveys and site. I don't know about the site visits. Weekly in-class discussions and interactions. Assignments and graded work, attendance 15%. There are 13 classes that will cover the course material. Students' participation attendance will attract a grade that counts towards your overall grade. Weekly interaction paper, 5%. You don't have to write weekly interaction paper every week. I will tell you when to write those papers, reflection papers or interaction papers. Say, for example, you will watch the film Life and Death. I will ask you to write an interaction paper in your groups of the film Life and Death once you watch it, okay? You will watch it next week, the last hour of the class. So you'll watch Life and Death by Stephanie Black. You will watch certain excerpts of They Came Before Us by Ivan Van Sertima. Corruption, we talk about the cost of a film about the cost of corruption in the Jamaica and the Caribbean. We won't watch Dirty Pretty Things. You can watch it on your own. The History of Reggae, we won't watch that. Story of the Maroons, I may want to watch that because they talk about Obia, so we will watch that in the class. The History of Obia and Afro Spirituality, we will watch that. And Who Shot the Sheriff, 2018, we will watch that. Attendance and participation, well, I have that twice. I apologize. That needs to be removed. There'll be a midterm paper and a final research paper group presentation. So the group presentation that you have in weeks 11 and 12, you're supposed to submit a 20 to 25 page essay paper with that group presentation. So your presentation the group presentation, you should have a paper copy of that, and you will send me a paper copy of that presentation. Extra credit is given if you write a 500-word summary on any of the following texts, or if you publish a letter in the Gleaner, you get 5 to 10% extra. Final exam, the score on the final exam will determine 40% of the grade. But let me say this: if you fail your exam, you will fail the course. In order to pass, if you get 100% in everything else but fail the exam, you fail the course. So you have to pass the exam in order to pass the course, okay? In-class research, there's in-class research opportunity, changing attitudes towards Afro-Caribbean beliefs. What were they like then, and what is it now? By the way, I'll talk about this next. I won't talk about this now. I'll talk about this later on. But this in-class research opportunity, I'd like all of you to to do a research about the changing attitudes towards Afro-Caribbean beliefs in Jamaica and the Caribbean. What were they like then, and what is it now? If there's a change, why or why not? How attitudes affect and influence policy and behaviors. And you can see the research proposal and the initial study right here. I'm not going to do this. Discussions and lecture topics include Caribbean thought, ideology, and philosophy, the Afrocentric paradigm, Afrocentrism versus Afrocentric and Eurocentrism, African civilization, African spirituality, the challenge of identity and the issue of sexuality. The guest is going to be Reverend Hewitt Holmes, Senior Pastor of the Church of Toronto. Poverty and inequality and opportunity, resistance and dilemmas of social power, the social origins of democratic socialism in Jamaica. I'm reading fast because some of these things are on there. You can read over that. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay, I'm going to skip all these other things and you guys can review some of the topics. But for class 1, for those of us who weren't here for the first 2 weeks, class 1, we really looked at we conceptualized the course. We did an introduction of we introduced some topics, main topics. What is Caribbean thought? Who determines this? Class 2, we looked at some just general approach to Caribbean thought. You can look at that. For class 3, we are going to look at economic. For class 3, we're going to look at the social origins of democratic socialism in Jamaica and the Caribbean. Students are to read and reflect on Afrocentric paradigm. And okay, that for last week was class 3. They're supposed to read Neoliberalism and the Afrocentric paradigm, and submit a reflection paper. Class 4, course outline. We're supposed to do course outline, assign groups, discuss the Afrocentric paradigm and history from below. I'm Mazama CLR James. We didn't do CLR James. We'll do that next week. We'll begin that. We will share a video with CLR James. So next week we're going to have a lot of video in the class. So a video with CLR James, and then we will have a video, and then we will do the 1.5 hour. The video is 1.5 hours for life and death, and an hour and I think 30 minutes for CLR James, or 15 minutes. And then the discussion on neoliberalism will culminate the discussion from the life and death film. Week 5, neoliberal globalization and the Black position. We'll talk about the facade of independence. Week 6, the challenge of identity. We'll have Reverend Hewitt Holmes. I apologize. This is week 4. So next week is Reverend Hewitt Holmes. The following week, we'll have the guest. We'll have Caribbean theology. The guest speaker is Reverend Richard Beckford. Week 8, we're gonna have another guest, Professor Emeritus Dr. Martin Oppenheimer, talking about colonialism, decolonization, post-colonialism, the bureaucratic phenomena, strategy, slavery, so on and so forth, feudalism, neoliberalism, Marxism. Week 9, we'll have immigration and the brain drain. Hopefully we'll have a guest. We'll have a guest, Robert Miller, talking about Caribbean politics. He's the member of parliament for somewhere in St. Catherine, I believe. He was head boy at Bridgeport High School before I became head boy at Bridgeport High. Very good friend of mine. He's supposed to be coming here to talking about Caribbean politics, and he's a member of parliament. Then the following week, we'll have the Urban Indian Heritage Society talking about Caribbean roots. Week 11 and week 12, we have group presentations, and then week 13, we'll wrap up the class. All right. The grading scale is there. You can see grade A, B, and so on and so forth. All right, we'll wrap up here. Let me see if there's any other consideration for the class. We're asking, by the way, we're asking you to avoid plagiarism. Okay. We can talk about that some more. Please review the syllabus if you have any further questions. Now let's talk about, and by the way, just so you know, the main textbook is Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty, and Resistance. It's available those of I think
Volume, sir. Volume, please.
Neoliberalism should be available to purchase. You can get copies from Chantel. I have shipped what I did. I went ahead and asked that copies be shipped out. So you can order them from Chantel. She'll have them available in about 6 or 7 days, and she'll have them to you. If she won't have a lot of, if I think she'll only have 15 available. She will be first come first serve basis. Any other if she runs out of copies, I guess you can pop. Maybe she'll have some more later on, or you can go on Amazon, buy them, or the Kindle may have copies as well.
Sir, I'm sorry, if I may, what's the cost locally?
I believe the cost is 5,500.
5,000 Jamaica.
Pardon me?
5,000.
Yeah.
You said 5,500?
5,500 Jamaican dollars. That's the cost of the books. We've been trying to negotiate the. We did try to negotiate that the price dropped to 4,000, but I think because of the shipping costs and so on, they have decided to push it back up. So the book is actually
Okay, I just want to ask Chantel to just cost me to get one. Just reach out and then let me know how I can pay, all right? So I could get it.
definitely.
Okay, no problem.
It's Lily. Okay, there.
Lily,
Also
sorry.
purchase the
Yes.
book and it's also available on Amazon. But I think that the book, if you buy it on Amazon, it's $59.
More expensive. Yeah.
Very expensive. Amazon.
Yeah. Just shipped and everything.
Yes. Kindle, if you have access to Kindle and can get it on Kindle, it's $16 or $17. Okay. Now, just so you know, there are other books on the reading material. Don't just think about that. You can get the main text is Neoliberalism, but there are also recommended texts, and other materials. Say, for example, Brian Meeks and Linda Folk, New Caribbean Thought Reader, a reader, University of West Indies Press, 2001. That's a good. You don't have to buy that. You can just click on this and it brings up the entire book or reading material. Homi Baba, The Location of Culture, is right there. You can type in the book. You can copy and paste that into Google and see what comes up. Some initial reflections might come up about the location of culture. Try and understand. I would define the concept later on in the class, but you need to understand the idea of the location of culture, the idea of the center and the periphery.
Excuse me, sir. I have to go.
Okay, this is the last point. Everybody, we will end class right now. What is the idea of the center and the periphery? What is Homi Baba talking about when she talks about the location of culture? What does the Caribbean, how important a concept is that to Caribbean thought and to Caribbean life and to life in general? Okay, think about it. Very important. You can copy that, put it into Google and see what comes up, or just type in, what is the idea of the center and the periphery as explained by Homi Baba? What is she talking about? Because we're going to talk about it, and it'd be good if you come to the class knowing what we're getting at. And of course, Kenneth Clark talked about the dilemmas of social power. I like how he defined freedom and resistance and so on. You can also, The Wretched of the Earth, Frantz Fanon, is what, before I came to this class, that was the textbook. That's a foreign book. Well, I mean, actually it's not. Frantz Fanon is from Martinique, but it was written in the 1960s. Okay? But Frantz Fanon was a good book. That used to be the text. It's no longer the main textbook, but it's a recommended reading. It's been around, okay? Frantz Fanon and Black Skin, White Mask is good. It's a good book as well. Those books used to be the textbook, but those books are very powerful book to nationalism and Pan-Africanism and so on. Frantz Fanon is a very, as academic and as scholars, you know, you're sitting across the table with other academics and scholars, and you mention and you hear people talk about Frantz Fanon. You should know that. You should know Frantz Fanon as scholars and as academics. Okay, in academia, you should know who Frantz Fanon is. You should know C.L.R. James. Those are some people you should know. You should know Edward Breathwaite, okay? You should know those people. You should be able to talk about those people. Sit down with the people, other academics. You should be able to talk. Those are some people you should know. I said C.L.R. James and the Black Jacobins. Anything else? I think that's about it for now in terms of books that you need to recommended reading. Let me see. Nothing. I don't think nothing else. That's about it. I have Hesiod Theogony, but you don't need to know that book. But that's a doctoral levelist book. But to be honest, everybody should read that book. That was I put it on there just for your own edification. The reading list. I put it on there for your own some of this stuff I put it on there for your own edification, but you'll find it quite powerful. Anything else? Oh, Ian Baruma talked about Occidentalism and Edward Said, Orientalism. I'm going to reference these two books and these two individuals in the course as we go on. We talk about ethnocentrism, using your own values to judge others. Part of the idea of ethnocentrism is Orientalism and Occidentalism, and part of Eurocentricity. A critique against Eurocentricity is the idea of probably Orientalism and so on. The Haitian Revolution, cost of corruption, links to these things. Louise Bennett, Caribbean thought, essay paper topics and questions to consider. Students may choose from these. These topics, familiarize yourself with, because sometimes what I usually do is when I write the exam paper, I might go to the syllabus and pull from one of these questions as the essay paper, because you're going to have an essay to do in the exam. The final question in the exam is an essay, is a 2-page essay paper, or 2-page essay, or 1-page essay you have to do for the exam. And I may pull from one of these questions. So it's good to familiarize yourself with. I'm telling the Caribbean, the course outline is thorough. I've asked several questions there. Some of them we might discuss them. Then there's addendum to the class with additional reflection. You can see it there. My email is at the end with other reflections. Poll question: what opportunities are there for CARICOM to reinvest itself? Guyana's oil, blah, 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 blah. Question for discussion: should Jamaica discontinue business with China? Question: what is the Caribbean? I studied the Caribbean is a study of interest and invention, opportunities, and debt. Is that true? So on and so forth. Readings and projects and to consider selected reading, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so the syllabus and there is quite thorough. And I think it's 53 pages or 33 pages or something like that. That's about it. Thank you, guys. Any questions for those who, last questions before I end the class? Shannon.
Thank you, sir. So you said that from these you could pull, and you are going to you might use them for an exam question. I wanted to know what content or how many words would you be looking for the exam? Would it be the same amount that we used for?
Don't worry, I don't. Okay, because of time, we won't.
I'm hearing a lot of persons not hearing.
Because of time, we won't discuss the exam. However, what I usually do is I usually prepare you guys for the exam. So I usually send you guys, we normally have a quiz, and then we come back and we discuss the quiz, including some essay topics, and I discuss what, and then don't worry, we go through the expectations for the exam and what is expected of you. Okay.
Sir, I was actually talking about how many pages are you looking for the exam? That's what I'm honing in on.
Anything for the exam is like a month or so from now, and we're going to discuss the exam. All right?
Okay, sir.
I just want
point taken.
But that's fine, and I'm not blowing you off, Shannon.
No, I know. I understand. In the interest of time, you're not going to go there now. You're going to save it for when we're actually discussing exam.
And we're going to
discuss. Sir, I'm not in a group. How do I go about getting in a group?
If you're not in a group, reach out to Chantel.
to hold it just like this. I'm recording.
No, why? No, don't do
No, that's fine. Hi, everyone. I'm Renaldo McKenzie, the author of Neoliberalism, Globalization, Economic Inequality, Poverty, and